On a rainy afternoon in a quiet coastal town, a stranger's cry cut through the sound of falling rain. A woman, stranded on the market steps, in sudden pain and unable to stand. As people hurried past, one man stopped, his hands steady, his voice calm, unaware that helping her would pull him into a chain of events neither of them could have imagined. A moment where kindness would challenge status and change both their lives forever. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video and tell us where you are watching from. If this story moved you, we'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below and let us know what you think. Now, let's jump into the story. It was a quiet late afternoon in a small coastal town. The air carried the scent of salt from the nearby harbor, and a light rain had begun to fall. Gray clouds hung low, casting a soft dimness over the streets. Outside the local produce market, footsteps echoed on the damp stone steps. Most people hurried along, heads bowed against the drizzle, eager to get home. Claire Morton stepped out of the market, carrying a paper bag filled with fresh vegetables and herbs. She was in a tailored blazer, a silk scarf loosely around her neck, and leather ankle boots that clicked softly on the wet stone. She had arrived in town earlier that morning for a short business visit, hoping to explore the local produce scene. Her schedule was tight, but she wanted to see the market for herself. She didn't notice the thin layer of moss growing on the edge of the top step. The drizzle had made it slick and dangerous. Her foot landed wrong. Her boot slipped, and before she could steady herself, her ankle twisted sharply. Pain shot up her leg. She gasped, trying to catch her balance, but her other foot skidded. The bag tumbled from her hands, carrots and parsley scattering across the steps. She grabbed the railing and tried to stand, but her ankle refused to hold her weight. She lowered herself to the ground, breath uneven, rain soaking into her blazer. A couple of people slowed their steps to glance at her, but then looked away and kept walking. The street noise seemed louder now, cars passing, market chatter fading into the distance. But no one came closer. A few meters away, Samuel Hart was leaving the market with his 9-year-old daughter, Lily. Samuel's jacket was worn but clean, the kind of coat that had seen many winters. He carried 2 grocery bags, one in each hand, and Lily walked close beside him, her small hand holding onto his sleeve. They had bought bread, potatoes, and a few treats for the weekend. Samuel heard the sound, a short cry of pain that didn't fit with the calm of the street. He turned his head and saw Claire on the ground, trying to shift herself upright, one hand pressing against her ankle. He set the bags down without a word and told Lily to stay put. He moved quickly toward Claire, the drizzle now falling harder. "Don't try to get up," he said, in a steady, low voice, kneeling beside her. "You might make it worse. Let me help you to a dry spot." She looked at him, a little startled. Strangers didn't usually speak to her so directly. His hands were strong but careful as he helped her to a bench under the market's awning. Claire winced as she moved, holding onto his arm. "I'm fine," she said automatically, though her voice was thin. "I just need a minute." Samuel shook his head slightly. "You're hurt. I think your ankle's taken a bad twist. I can take you to the clinic." "It's only a short drive," she hesitated. She wasn't used to depending on someone she didn't know. But the pain in her ankle was sharp, and standing was impossible. "My name's Samuel," he added. "This is my daughter, Lily." He nodded toward the little girl watching from a few steps away, her eyes wide with quiet concern. Claire gave a faint smile despite the pain. "I'm Claire." "All right, Claire," Samuel said gently. "We'll get you taken care of." As he went back to gather his groceries and call Lily over, Claire noticed how calmly he moved, as if helping strangers was a natural part of his day. His voice carried no rush, no irritation, only the steady tone of someone used to handling problems without drama. Samuel returned, holding the bags in one hand while offering his other arm for support. "Lean on me," he said simply. "Don't put any weight on that foot." The rain was falling harder now, making the street shine under the muted glow of shop lights. Lily walked on Claire's other side, holding the edge of her scarf so it wouldn't drag. Inside the cab of Samuel's old pickup truck, the warmth from the heater eased the chill in the air. Claire settled into the seat, her ankle throbbing, but supported by a folded jacket he had placed under it. As Samuel pulled out onto the wet road, Claire watched the raindrops streak across the window. She wondered how her day had shifted so quickly, from a simple market visit to being in a stranger's truck on the way to a small-town clinic. She didn't know anything about him beyond his name. He didn't know that she was the owner of a chain of eco-friendly cafes, or that she had come here partly to scout suppliers. Right now, none of that seemed to matter. What mattered was that someone had stopped, noticed, and cared enough to help. And in that quiet, rain-filled moment, Claire had no idea how much this single act of kindness would shape the days to come. The rain was heavier by the time Samuel parked outside the small-town clinic. Drops tapped steadily against the windshield, blurring the glow of the streetlights. He stepped out first, opening the door for Claire and helping her down. She leaned on him, careful not to put weight on her injured ankle, while Lily carried the grocery bags from the market. Inside, the clinic was warm and smelled faintly of antiseptic and fresh coffee. A nurse behind the desk looked up, her expression softening when she saw Claire's limp. "Let's get you into an exam room," she said, leading the way. The nurse examined Claire's ankle with gentle but practiced hands. "It's a moderate sprain," she explained. "No broken bones, but you'll need rest, ice, and no walking for at least 2 days. Keep it elevated as much as possible." She wrapped the ankle in a snug elastic bandage and handed Claire a pair of crutches. When they stepped back into the waiting area, the rain outside had turned into a steady downpour. Claire opened a rideshare app on her phone, but every driver was busy. The nearest available ride was half an hour away, and the idea of standing outside in the rain with crutches felt impossible. "My place is close by," Samuel said quietly. "You can wait there until the rain slows. Maybe even have something warm to eat." Claire hesitated. She was not in the habit of going to strangers' homes, yet something in his calm, grounded manner made her feel safe. She glanced at Lily, who was holding a paper bag of groceries and smiling shyly. "All right," Claire said finally. "Thank you." Samuel's home was a small, single-story house tucked between 2 tall oak trees. The porch light cast a soft yellow glow as they walked up the steps. Inside, the air was warm, carrying the aroma of something savory from the kitchen. The living room was tidy but lived in. A couch with a folded blanket draped over the back, shelves lined with both children's books and well-worn repair manuals, and colorful drawings taped to the fridge. Samuel helped Claire settle onto the couch, propping her foot up on a pillow. "You'll be more comfortable here," he said, handing her another pillow for support. Lily came over holding a remote. "Do you want to watch something?" she asked. "I can put on cartoons or maybe a cooking show." Claire smiled. Cartoons sound perfect. In the kitchen, Samuel began preparing a pot of vegetable stew. He chopped onions, carrots, and potatoes with a practiced rhythm, adding herbs that filled the room with a comforting scent. Claire could hear the soft sounds of cooking, the gentle sizzle, the clink of a spoon against the pot. She watched him move between the counter and stove, noticing how naturally he worked, as though making meals was a part of his daily rhythm. It wasn't about impressing anyone. It was about taking care of his home. Lily sat beside Claire, showing her how to fold a paper flower from colored paper. "Dad taught me this," she explained, her small fingers moving carefully. Claire followed along, her hands slower, but the process made her smile. "How long have you lived here?" Claire asked. "Since Lily was 2, Samuel replied from the kitchen. "It's close to my work and her school. Nothing fancy, but it's home." "And you work in repairs?" Claire said, trying to remember what she'd overheard earlier. "Refrigeration and cooling systems," Samuel said. "Mostly for stores and restaurants. Keeps me busy enough." The stew simmered, filling the space with warmth. Samuel ladled it into bowls and brought them to the coffee table. "Careful, it's hot," he said, handing one to Claire and another to Lily. Claire took a spoonful and felt the deep, hearty flavor spread warmth through her. "This is wonderful," she said. Samuel shrugged lightly. "Just simple food, but it does the job." They ate in quiet comfort, the rain still tapping against the windows. Claire found herself relaxing, the tension from her day easing away. She wasn't used to sitting still, to simply being part of someone else's home. When they finished, Lily gathered the bowls and took them to the kitchen without being asked. Samuel returned with a soft blanket and draped it over Claire's legs. "You should rest," he said. "You can stay as long as you need. The rain's not letting up anytime soon." Claire met his gaze, seeing no expectation, no hidden motive, just sincerity. For the first time that day, she felt not like a business owner juggling deadlines, but like a person who could simply be cared for. She didn't yet know how much this small act of kindness would ripple through the days ahead. The next morning, the rain had cleared, leaving the streets damp and shining under the soft light of the sun. Claire's ankle was still sore, but the bandage kept it steady. As she prepared to leave Samuel's home, she turned to him with a thoughtful look. "You and Lily should join me for lunch today," she said. "My company has a headquarters in the city, not far from here. It's the least I can do to thank you." Samuel seemed unsure at first. "We don't really fit in with corporate offices," he said, with a half smile. "You'll fit in just fine," Claire replied, "and I think you might enjoy the food." By noon, Samuel had driven them into the city. The headquarters of Claire's Cafe brand was a tall, modern building with glass walls that reflected the sky. Inside the lobby, green plants covered entire walls, and the air smelled faintly of fresh herbs. Lily's eyes widened as she took in the sight. Staff members greeted Claire warmly, clearly aware of who she was. A few glanced curiously at Samuel and Lily, whispering to one another. The company's cafeteria was bright and filled with natural light. Long wooden tables were lined with fresh bread, fruits, and colorful salads. Claire led them to a quiet table by the windows. "You should try our seasonal soup," she suggested. "It's one of our best sellers." Samuel tasted the soup slowly, his brow furrowing slightly. "It's good," he said after a pause, "but the flavor's a bit shallow. It could use more depth. The kind you get from slow-cooked bones and fresh herbs." Claire leaned forward with interest. "How would you do it differently?" "I'd roast the bones first to bring out the richness," Samuel explained, "then simmer them for hours with vegetables and a mix of fresh herbs. It's not fast, but it makes a soup people remember." Before Claire could reply, a man in a crisp suit approached their table. "Miss Morton," he said politely, though his tone carried a hint of disapproval. "I heard about yesterday. It's made quite a story on social media. Our CEO rescued by a local handyman." He glanced briefly at Samuel. "We should be careful about the image this creates for the brand." Claire's voice was calm. "What image do you think that is?" "Perhaps it's best to offer him some form of thanks," the man continued. "A small payment, or maybe something for his child's education, and then maintain professional distance." Samuel's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed steady. I'm not here for payment. I helped because someone needed it, that's all. Everyone has a price, the man said, almost dismissively. What would you want? A new truck? Equipment? Samuel shook his head. If you really want to give something, I'd take the vegetable trimmings and bones you probably throw away. Lily and I could make real broth at home. It saves food from going to waste. The man seemed taken aback by the simplicity of the request. Claire, however, felt a quiet respect for Samuel's answer. After lunch, Claire walked with them through the building. In the test kitchen, chefs were preparing dishes for an upcoming tasting event. The space smelled of fresh bread and simmering sauces. Stainless steel counters reflected the bright light overhead. We're hosting a menu tasting tonight, Claire said, turning to Samuel. We invite a mix of chefs, managers, and guests to give feedback. I'd like you to come. Samuel hesitated. If I do, I bring Lily. I don't leave her at home to eat noodles while I'm out. Claire smiled. Then both of you are invited. There was a pause, the kind where something unspoken lingers in the air. Claire had known many people in her life who valued titles, wealth, and influence. But Samuel seemed untouched by all of it. His concerns were simple, but they came from a place of deep care. For his daughter, for his home, for the small moments that made life meaningful. As they walked toward the parking garage, Lily skipped a few steps ahead, humming softly. Claire watched her, then glanced at Samuel. In the space of 2 days, their worlds had collided. Hers, filled with meetings, marketing strategies, and corporate expectations. His, built around steady work, home-cooked meals, and time with his child. Yet somehow in this sudden overlap, they had found common ground. Claire didn't yet know what the evening's tasting event would bring, but she sensed that whatever happened, the connection they had begun was already shaping into something more. That evening, the test kitchen at Claire's headquarters was alive with movement and sound. Chefs in white coats worked quickly, arranging small plates of steaming dishes. The smell of roasting vegetables and simmering broth filled the air. Guests from different departments mingled with a few invited investors, each holding a tasting menu in hand. Samuel arrived with Lily by his side, both looking slightly out of place but comfortable together. Claire greeted them warmly and led them to a spot near the long counter where the chefs presented their creations. The head chef placed a bowl of the cafe's updated seasonal soup in front of Samuel. "We've made improvements since lunch," he said with a confident smile. Samuel tasted it slowly, letting the warmth settle. "It's better," he said honestly, "but it's still missing that deep flavor you get when you draw out everything the bones have to give, and maybe a touch of wild herbs to balance it." The chef raised an eyebrow. "Wild herbs?" "Yes," Samuel replied. "Something fresh, something that doesn't come from a packet. And if you char the celery before adding it, it'll add a smoky depth." There was a moment of silence before Claire stepped forward. "Let's try it," she said. "Make a small batch the way Samuel suggests." Half an hour later, the aroma in the room had changed. When the new soup was ladled into bowls, its scent was richer, its color deeper. The first sip drew murmurs from the guests. It was clear that Samuel's suggestions had made a difference. As the tasting continued, Lily explored the kitchen with fascination, asking the chefs questions about the different tools and ingredients. Claire watched her, noticing how comfortable she was here, in a space that blended creativity and care. But the warm atmosphere shifted when Claire's public relations manager stepped into the kitchen. She held her phone, showing Claire a news alert. "Photos from tonight are already online," she whispered. "Some investors are worried about the story. A CEO at a private dinner with a local handyman and his child." Claire glanced toward Samuel, who was helping Lily reach a tray of bread samples. Her decision came quickly. When the next round of tasting ended, she called for everyone's attention. "This man," Claire began, her voice steady, "is the reason we improved our soup tonight. Yesterday, he helped me when I was injured. He didn't know my position, and he didn't care. What mattered was that someone needed help. Starting next month, all of our winter soups will be prepared with slow-simmered broths, following the method he taught us, and we'll be sourcing herbs from local growers he recommends." The room was quiet for a moment before the guests broke into polite applause. Claire's words had made her stance clear. Quality, authenticity, and respect would matter more than image. 1 month later, the cafe's new winter menu was a success. Customers praised the deeper, more comforting flavors. Signs in each location proudly described the hearth broth method, crediting Samuel and Lily for their inspiration. Samuel continued his repair work, but now he also consulted for Claire's company a few hours each week. He provided ideas for recipes and ways to reduce food waste, all while keeping his priority, time with Lily, unchanged. On a quiet Sunday evening, Claire arrived at Samuel's home, carrying a basket of fresh bread and greens. Inside, the kitchen smelled of a slow-cooking stew. Lily was at the table coloring, her schoolwork neatly stacked nearby. "Come join us," Samuel said, smiling as he stirred the pot. Claire sat at the table, watching as he ladled the stew into 3 bowls. Over dinner, Lily chatted about her week at school and the new book she was reading. Claire felt the warmth of the moment, not just from the food, but from the ease of being here, in this simple, honest space. After the meal, Lily leaned back in her chair with a satisfied sigh. "It feels like our table is just right now," she said. "Like everyone's supposed to be here." Samuel looked at Claire, and in his quiet way, she understood the truth in that. They didn't need big declarations. They didn't need promises written in grand gestures. What they had built came from steady respect, shared meals, and the kind of kindness that grows without effort. In the days that followed, their lives continued, different yet intertwined. And though neither could have predicted it, one ordinary moment in the rain had brought them to a place that felt like home.